Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing tonight?
Good, Bruce. I had a good day. It's so cold, but I managed to get out and do my regular exercise routine on this. I go up and down the stairs, so
Well,
I'm feeling good about that, even though I didn't let the cold beat me today. And that's always a good day when you're Edmontonite, as Don King once called us.
Edmontonite.
Edmontonite.
Oh. Yeah,
We
I've
Edmontites.
been working out indoors this last little while since the big ice storm in early December when it was too slippery to be safe out there, and then the temperature just dived. And by that time, I paid for a month at the Service Place here in St. Albert, so I've just mostly been walking the track there.
Yeah, I
And I'm
bet you're rocking it, man. I'm getting
I'm feeling
rocking
like
it.
the Houston Astros of April 1965, playing their first homestand in the Astrodome, after playing baseball outdoors their entire life up until that point. That must have been so strange for those guys. So kind of feels like that.
Well, you're on a pretty good streak here of walking, going out for your exercise and walk, eh? What are you at?
Since November of 2019, so 2 full years plus a couple months, I guess. So
November, excuse me, of 2019. Wow, is that
yeah,
pre-COVID? That's pre-COVID.
pre-COVID. Yeah, since
Jeez.
COVID, I haven't. It's been a minimum of 1 hour every day, and
You had a essentially you had a,
without a miss.
if you started in November 2019, you had a premonition of COVID, and you got out there. So
Yeah, I was already getting out there, and then COVID hit, and I just decided to lengthen my goal because that's my only time out in the real world, or was for, long chunks of time.
yeah, it has been a strange time and a
It has
strange
been a
time.
strange time, yes.
Let's not get into it. All right. Now we can talk about something equally, if not more, not equally. We can we can also talk another thing that's depressing.
Mm.
The Edmonton Oilers' recent play, they lost tonight 4-1 to the New York Rangers. The grade A shots were fairly close, 13-12, but when it came to the 5 alarm chances, they weren't close. The Rangers had a lot more. Bruce, I'll start it off. We'll do our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. And because we're crabby and impatient, we're just going to go with one each for both of those things because
Okay.
it's just too painful to think about the Oilers and talk about them too much.
Mm.
Um, I'll start it off. I mean, the knives are out in Edmonton for Mikko Koskinen tonight. And from the coach to Terry Jones of the Sun, um, every fan probably who watches, to me, like, and this does have the feeling of enough. You can't win with
Mm.
this kind of goaltending. It is just backbreaking to have that happen to you early in games too often. A soft, terrible goal against. And that's what it was. Dave Tippett called it a brutal mistake. He says, don't soft pedal. It was a brutal mistake.
Yep.
And just a terrible read by Koskinen. He just needed to realize I might not get there, so I'm going to back up. But
Mhm.
mobility and decision making outside the net are not Koskinen's strengths. He does have some, shot blocking. The initial shot, I think, is probably the strength, as long as it's not too far outside. But shot blocking, he's a decent shot blocker. But there's other aspects of his game: puck handling, rebound control, rebounds, wraparounds that are kind of not there at an NHL level consistently enough for him to get a new contract probably in the NHL next year. I think it's fair to say. So he tried to, he started off the game by shooting the puck. He panicked and he shot the puck over the board. So there's a penalty 15 seconds, I think, into the game. And it's like, oh no. And the Oilers managed to kill it off. There's some good plays and they managed to kill it off. But five
He
and a
made a
half
couple
minutes,
stops in there too.
he did actually. There was a
Mhm.
tip. There was a really dangerous tip shot, and he
Mhm.
stopped it. Like he's big in the net, and he stops lots of stuff.
Mhm.
But then he tries to make the play where he goes out and plays the puck, and it's going through what's it called, the tripod. What is that called behind the net where the goalies aren't allowed to play at the
the trapezoid.
trapezoid? Yeah.
They're allowed to play it in the trapezoid. They can't play it outside the trapezoid. And my read is the puck never got inside the trapezoid. He went out there to field it, and it was just traveling too slow.
Yeah.
And Ryan Strome, on a very good hustle play, beat the puck to that line, was able to basically check it off of Koskinen's stick before Koskinen was able to play it, and then quickly turned and whipped a pass through Zach Hyman onto the tape of Alexis Lafreniere, who accepted the gift and powered it home from the slot with no goalie to beat.
It's tempting to think, like, why doesn't Hyman read that? But hockey happens fast, and you're in the train tracks, right? You can't when you're going at a certain speed and your skates are going straight, you can't suddenly just turn, like, as good as these players are. I mean, the quickest guy turning on a dime is McDavid, right? And that's why he's Connor McDavid. But there's just Zach Hyman. Why doesn't he just read this and cover Lafreniere? But it's because it's happening really fast. He thinks Koskinen's Bouchard and Nurse are kind of spreading out, waiting for Koskinen to play them. Everyone's reading it. They're reading the goalie. They're expecting him to make the play. They're thinking, there's no chance in the world he's heading out there if he's not for sure that he's getting the puck. Everyone else is thinking that because these are professional hockey players. They expect a certain level of competence from their teammates, and it just didn't happen. Koskinen really misread the play, and Bruce, it did seem like the end of the Mikko Koskinen era. It just probably every fan in Edmonton has got to be asking themselves right now, why the hell isn't Stuart Skinner in Edmonton, and why is Mikko Koskinen here? I never got the explanation, honestly. Like, people were trying to offer explanations like why this makes sense. It didn't make sense to me. Skinner has been the better goalie. Your job in the NHL is to win. Why was he sent down? I mean, I don't want to wasn't trying to overreact when that happened, but I just thought, like,
because Mike Smith was ready to play, man. It's all good now.
Has that ever blown up in their face? Like, I thought they would be okay. I thought Mike's between Smith and Koskinen, and I thought, there's a better chance this year than last year that they'll get through the season because Smith had just played so well. But this is just it's a shit show. They've got to do something. They got to call up Skinner and make a trade, probably. They've got to trade their first pick this year pronto to bring in a goalie. Because you can't count on Skinner either. He is a rookie. You can't count on Smith, and you can't count on Koskinen. You need to trade for a goalie, I think. And I don't know what's out there, what they're looking for, but this is killing the team right now. And it was written all over Tippett's face. He didn't say, he just was talking about the one play tonight. But you don't talk about the one play in that manner unless your goaltending play is killing you. And that's what's happening, right? As much as anything, Bruce, that's what's happening with this Oilers team right now. They're getting out-goalied night after night after night after night.
They were tonight.
When was the last time they weren't? I mean, maybe there's a recent, I can't think of any, but when was the last time they weren't?
Recent example? I don't know.
You've got the good memory for these kinds of things.
Yeah, when they beat Pittsburgh on December 1st.
There you go.
That was Dave Tippett's last win behind the bench. He's now enduring a personal 9-game losing streak. So the heat's up on Tippett as well. There's no way around that. And I mean, talk about Koskinen being on the griddle. Well, he's not the only one. So yeah, Koski, I mean, his first handle, he dumped it over the glass for a penalty, like you say, 15 seconds into the game. McDavid breaks his stick off a face-off, and New York shoots it in, and Koskinen dumps it over the glass. His second attempted handle, he never handled it because the puck didn't reach him. I have a tiny bit of sympathy as being in the old goalies club, and I'll say this: this is where you're on the road and you're going from one building to the next. And on the last game they played, the Koskinen played in New York Islanders, the friggin' boards were lightning fast. Everything coming off the boards was like it came shot up a trampoline. It was springing out in front and coming around the boards. And this dump in, he went out there and he was ready for it to come, and it just sort of trickled to him. And it just didn't have enough oomph on it. And I mean, that's one of the challenges of playing in different buildings, and he got burned, and it's his fault. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying I have a tiny bit of sympathy for this. Is part of the issue. When's the last time he
Sure.
played a game in Madison Square Garden? Like 2 years ago, 3 years
Sure.
ago?
Sure. And
Anyway,
yeah.
stuff happens and it happened there. And then the third time he handled the puck, this was the best because all he did that time was give it to the Rangers. But that was the best of his three handles to that point. I'm saying to my wife, well, that worked out better than the other two. It went straight to a Ranger, but at least it didn't wind up in the net or Oiler in the penalty box. So things are looking up.
I can see you having some sympathy. Like
Oh,
I'm a beer league defenseman, so when the puck went off Barry's skate tonight,
oh,
that happened to me last night in the game we played. Like
yeah.
I'm covering the guy in the I'm doing everything right. I'm
It
taking out his
happens.
stick, taking his body, and bam, off my skate into the net. Like so that does happen, and I don't think people are really blaming Tyson Barry a whole heck of a
I'm
lot
not
for
going to
that.
dock Barry for that. I'll dock him for
No,
the turnover for the breakaway,
oh
but I
yeah,
won't dock him for that.
there's some
So
other stuff, but Koskinen, that was different
yeah,
because it's a massive mental
yeah.
mistake
You got
for
to
the
be
goalie.
sure.
You got to be sure. Or you got to be Mike Smith, where you know that you're quick and adept enough that even if you're not sure, you're going to still win that puck battle. Mike Smith probably would have found a way. He would have cheated, or he would have like gone in there early, or he would have blocked the pass or something. He would have taken it. He would have thrown a body check. He would have done something, and that wouldn't have got in there. But Koskinen doesn't have that bag of Smitty tricks. So, all right, what's your
Bad
so
thing?
wait, did I give my bad? We went
I
bad
did.
thing first. It
Well,
just
yeah,
it did
when they
seem to
lose,
be,
bad thing first seems like a
yeah, maybe
logical way
that'll
to
be
go, if
our,
you ask
yeah,
me.
okay. What's your
My
it does
my
feel
bad,
weird sometimes when we go good thing when they lost a
yeah,
terrible game. What's your bad thing?
my bad thing is Oilers' defensive coverage and the number of jailbreaks they were giving up tonight. It was just horrendous. There was a span in the second period there. I mean, first of all, they gave up the 2-0 goal on, I believe it was a 4-on-2 rush, where a puck bounced off of Warren Fogel's skate and it went past Duncan Keith out into the neutral zone. And then all of a sudden, there's only Cody Ceci really back in position to do anything, and he can't cut out the pass. And bang, it's in the net. So and now all of a sudden it's after that though the Oilers start to panic. There's a situation where Cuckoo takes a penalty at 6:26 and Kako takes one for New York at 6:57. So it's 4-on-4 at the basically 7-minute mark of the second. On the 4-on-4 situation, the Rangers had two breakaways, essentially. I mean, maybe they were 2-on-1s, but it wound up with a guy alone against Koskinen. One of them rang off the post. The other one, I'm not sure if it hit the post or Koskinen got a little piece of it or what. It nearly went in, didn't. Then there was a 3-on-1 basically from Edmonton's or from New York's blue line all the way in, and the Rangers overpassed it and wound up not getting the shot. But it wasn't because they didn't have a jailbreak, because they did. And then Tyson Barrie turned over the puck, and they had what amounted to another breakaway just from Edmonton's blue line in this time. And this was like 3 minutes of hockey, David. And the Rangers had four odd man rushes where they clearly had Edmonton outnumbered. And you could say 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s. What the goal was a 4-on-2, like it was just wide open spaces. And when you compare Edmonton's defensive play to that exhibited by the Rangers for most of this game, it was night and day. They looked like teams
Yeah.
from two different leagues out there.
I'm going to highlight two mistakes in these sequences of pain. Um, and I think I got this first one right. It's at 12:19 mark, and it's 4-on-4. And the Rangers have full possession of the puck, and Puljujärvi decides to change. And I'll tell you what, Bruce, that's what caused the problem. As much
Mhm.
as anything, I don't know if Barry had just shifted on or not, but Barry was the one who got beat by the guy streaking up the middle of the ice. But Puljujärvi would have been there. Like he would have been, Draisaitl shifted on. He did the right thing. He's moving to the play. He's trying to angle the player to the boards. He's not there in time. McDavid had shifted off already, and Draisaitl came
Mhm.
on. Then Puljujärvi, they have full possession of the puck, and
Mhm.
Puljujärvi decides he's going. And suddenly he would have been covering that winger or covering the middle of the ice. It's wide open for a stretch pass, and bam, they make it. Like it's just a kind of mental error. It's as bad as Koskinen's. That is the kind of thing that kills your team. You cannot have that mental mistake. The other one,
That
Barry in
was
full
during the 4-on-4, by the way.
that
So a
was.
bad line change turns it into a 4-on-3, which is, it's that much more of a dangerous time to be. It's like a bad line change in overtime is particularly dangerous because, you're talking about
Yeah.
a third of the players on the ice rather than a fifth of them making the bad change. In this case, a quarter, and they wound up having no one to cover. Yeah.
Barry's turnover was bad too. I mean, he's in full he's made a nice move. He's in full possession of the puck and he just waits too long and he gives it away. Now that's a mental mistake by Tyson Barrie, who's really good with the puck. Doesn't do that very often, and has been playing better defensively. But he had a little 5 minute period here where he was responsible essentially for three wide open kind of breakaway chances, and his turnover there was really. I mean, he will totally be kicking himself for that because that was a real like the one in off his skate. He feels bad and embarrassed, but like he's saying, what could I do? But the turnover that leads to two 5 alarm chances, that's totally on him and not good. Your good thing, Bruce. Why don't? Oh, my good thing is next, I guess.
Mm.
Um, Tyler Benson probably played his best game as an Oiler. The coach gave him some faint,
Well,
faint
what do you know?
praise. Coach gave him some faint praise, like, yeah, he got his first point. Hopefully, that's a sign of better things to come. Um, Dave Tippett, who's that actor in Men in Black who plays opposite Will Smith? That
Lee
old
Lee
dude,
Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones. Dave Tippett tonight just reminded me so much of a cranky Tommy Lee Jones there. Anyway, Tyler Benson has been playing reasonable hockey in a fourth line role, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes a game, hardly getting any chances and often playing with weak line mates.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking to me, and I know I'm a Tyler Benson homer. He's from Edmonton and I'm cheering for the guy.
Okay.
So, that said, he's looked to me like he's hits, he's gritty, he's getting in the play, and he's got some skill. He made some fantastic plays tonight. There was one with where Tyson Barrie had an outside shot on net in the second, and he was just causing all kinds of commotion in the crease. And I think he did get a shot. You'll have to review that, but I thought he got a shot. And then Turris, just a second later, I think put it off the goalie or the post or something and almost scored. That was Benson creating. And then the pass that he makes that was a very sweet play, that goal. I mean, Cody Ceci dekes someone, rushes it up the ice, backhand pass. Kyle Turris then makes an even nicer pass to Benson, who then makes the nicest of all cross seam, cross ice dart over to McLeod, who puts it in the net. And last year, I think at this time I was advocating to see that great McLeod, Marody, Benson line, thinking it might even be a third line for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm thinking that even stronger now, Bruce. McLeod and Benson have made the moves. Marody's a good hockey player. He's as good as they are, probably. Maybe there's something that holds him back at the NHL level, but I think that would be a really interesting thing to do, would be to see if you can generate third line offense from that line and see if that works to help score some goals, because they need some goals. They need even strength goals. That was the best even strength line in the AHL last year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Tyler Benson, I think, is earning his ice time, and maybe you'll play more with McLeod in a slightly elevated role than he's been getting. Let me see what his time on ice was here tonight. What did he get tonight?
Yeah, he got quite a bit.
13:38, which is that's
Mm-hmm.
got to be a seasonal high, I'm guessing. Can't remember him
Mm-hmm.
getting him more than that. So maybe we're seeing something. I mean, the coach isn't a lover of rookies, of young players. I mean,
No,
look at
doesn't
Turris
seem.
had a good game tonight. Turris played actually well, but
Mm-hmm.
like he seems to like that kind of player, like going with that kind of guy over than
Yeah.
and Devon Shore. He likes going with Devon Shore, of course. And you can comment on that if you want. I'll have to tell you, Bruce. I thought Devon Shore might take a step up this year. like Josh Archibald did in his first year. That has not happened.
Nope.
And he's been really super disappointing. Now he's been injured, and he was on COVID too. Did he
Yep,
go on the protocol?
he did.
So some extenuating circumstances, definitely. But he's got to play better because he's on the PK, he's getting regular ice time. He is not performing. And this is what's fueling the anti-Tippett talk right now, I guess, is things like decisions like that. So what's your bad thing?
My good thing?
What's your good thing? We did the
Yeah,
bad
well,
things.
yeah, just yeah. On one comment on Tyler Benson, that backhand feed he set across for McLeod to tap in was a beauty.
That's right.
Just a terrific pass. A good way to get his first point of the season. I mean, you could say long overdue. Uh, I thought he was playing well enough that they might give him a look with, on somewhere in the top six, but he basically played 1 minute each with Draisaitl and McDavid, and otherwise he was as usual in the bottom of the order. And I don't know what it's going to take to get him a chance playing with high end skill. Mind you, McLeod and Turris, at least they have some skill.
They
It's
do.
not like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like he's playing with Shore and Sevier like he was for a while there. You know, so there's, I mean, he's a skilled passer, and he showed that tonight several times.
Yes.
And we had him contributing to 4 grade A chances and none against. So, so you beat we. I lost the thumb wrestle. That was my good thing from this game as well. And so my other good thing, I'm going to go with the other number 16, Ryan Strome, former Oiler. I always enjoy watching him play and dreaming of that time where the Oilers did actually have a decent 3C there for a few months before Peter Chiarelli traded him 1-for-1 for Ryan Spooner in November of 2018. And Strome tonight, he scored 3 points for New York. Played a really good game. He won that puck battle with Koskinen, made a good centering pass, wound up with a goal, 2 assists, 3 points, first star of the game. And he that actually matched the total number of points that Ryan Spooner scored for Edmonton Oilers in 25 games. That's how many Strome scored against the Oilers in one game tonight, in yet another of Peter Chiarelli's series of disastrous trades. And we heard the New York commentators tonight, because of the situation that the Edmonton broadcast of the game was knocked out by COVID concerns, which I believe were in the truck, as opposed to, I understand that Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer did the game on the radio, but they didn't have some kind of support crew because of COVID concerns. So we heard the Rangers broadcast, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. And I like hearing from time to time the outsiders' view of the Oilers. It's, sort of knowledgeable hockey people, but who only see the team sort of on the periphery. And some of the commentary they had about the Oilers, and one of the things that they said that still rankles me to this day, David, was how McDavid himself was fairly devastated by that trade because Ryan Strome was one of his best friends on the team. And then, of course, Chiarelli followed that up by trading for McDavid's sworn enemy, Brandon Manning, the following month. I mean, how to build a team, not. So my
Yeah,
good thing is seeing Ryan Strome land on his feet in another organization, and my bad thing, well, I don't have to say what it is, but its initials are PC.
well, with the Strome situation, Bruce, the first thing that comes to my mind isn't Peter Chiarelli, it's Todd McLellan. I mean, McLellan was not using the player. He was brought in to play, to give, as a winger, to see how he would do with McDavid. He hardly got a chance there.
Yeah, he did not get a chance.
And McLellan, he didn't use them very much. And it was interesting what they said. It was what a breath of fresh air it was to hear that about McDavid being upset. Someone talk about something that actually happened and is real and is pertinent to the Edmonton Oilers. Like, that was good to hear. So, yeah, I've got the other point I was going to make about Strome, but yeah, I do blame Todd McLellan as much as anything for what happened there. He didn't get a real great chance in Edmonton, and he's taken off elsewhere. So tough one.
Yeah, and it was one of the very last things that happened before McClellan got fired. Like, my recollection is Spooner arrived in Edmonton the week of the trade. Took him a couple of days to get out here. and he went, if I recollect right, -2 on Saturday night in Calgary, and then -2 again on Sunday night at home versus Vegas. And the Oilers got clobbered in both games, and McClellan got fired right after that. So, and from then on, I mean, Strome, he could have been a winger. Like they should have tried him at winger before they traded him for a winger. But he was really actually quite good at 3C. He just wasn't scoring much because he had a young kid on one line on one wing, and he had Milan Lucic on the other wing, and they were holding their own. They weren't giving anything up, but they weren't scoring, and they got
he was
impatient, moved on from him, and it was a huge blunder.
he
He's the
was doing
best 3C Oilers have had probably in the last 10 years.
yeah, he was doing okay at 3C. Now I remember what I was going to say. Like the broadcasters also talked about what a kind of a Boolean character he is. Like he's very outgoing, going up and down the plane aisles, and it sounded like that was not working in Edmonton. That wasn't happening. So again, that had me thinking of the coach. So I think the coach and the GM are probably equally culpable in that for the Strome debacle here in Edmonton. Okay. Are we at our numbers?
Numbers.
Okay. My number relates to Koskinen. It's a series of numbers. It's just looking at his streak in his first 7 games when we were all singing his praises, including me, of course. Shouting his name from the rooftops and dancing in the streets about Mikko Koskinen. He had 7 games, 6 wins, 1 loss, and a .934 save percentage. Since then, he's played 13 games, and he has 6 wins and 7 losses, and his save percentage is .882. .882 compared to .934. There's just no way you win with .882 goaltending. And .882 goaltending, I think, is also on the goalie. Like it's hard to get to that level without it being at least partially on you to some extent. Like you can't say there's just a weak defensive team in front of him. The Oilers have had defensive struggles, and they have given up. Tonight they gave up a lot of chances, some really good ones. But it's not just that. It's just Koskinen is shooting himself in the foot too often. And it'll be interesting to see, Bruce, if something does happen out of this. Like the discontent is real. It's raw. It's been expressed by the coach in public. The coach is obviously probably feeling some pressure about now. I think there's usually when there's, Oiler fans are in a tizzy, like who cares, right? Because Oiler fans are always in a tizzy. This time, though, there may actually be some action taken. And it could be as simple as sending Koskinen to Bakersfield and calling up Skinner. That would be the most obvious thing to happen. Or just calling up Skinner, sending Konovalov down, I guess. And I don't know what the salary cap implications of all that are. But I think there's at least a 50-50 chance that happens. That
Non-zero chance he's on waivers at noon tomorrow.
Yeah, so what would you say what would you say the chances of that are exactly?
I'll stick with non-zero. I mean, I think it's a distinct possibility that he's waived tomorrow and Skinner's on his way up.
To be sent down, he has to be put on waivers. So we're actually saying the same thing. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, for a player of his stature, he has to endure the ignominy of the waiver wire. And that's not a fun time for any veteran hockey player, but it may become.
They probably want him to play, Bruce. Excuse me there. They probably want him to play, right? So they probably, instead of just putting him on the taxi squad, I don't even know if he can go on the taxi squad. Maybe that's not a possibility. I guess Skinner couldn't, so I doubt Koskinen could. So he probably has to get sent down. I don't know.
If he clears waivers, they could put him on the taxi squad, and that actually is a likelier outcome than him actually going to Bakersfield. Call up Skinner, send Konovalov back down from the taxi squad, call up Skinner to the roster, move Koskinen to the taxi squad. That's a very feasible chain of events.
Well, here's why I think he might go to Bakersfield. You could say to Mikko Koskinen, listen, man, like you're having a bad run of games. .882 save percentage the last 13 games. We can show you the video of some of the goals you've been letting in. You're probably not feeling too good about yourself, and the team might be feeling the same way about you. They probably wouldn't say that. But listen, we want to work with you. We want to turn your season around. Bakersfield's having a run of games in the next 2 weeks. You're going to get lots of games down there. Go down there, get your game in order, and in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll see how things play out. You know, we're not stranding you there. If you come back and we're still having issues, like this is your chance. This is your best opportunity to get your game back together and maybe earn another NHL contract next year. So I could see him actually going to Bakersfield under those circumstances, and Skinner getting the call up in his stead. So then you'd have Skinner and Smith. And again, to me, it's not enough. You got to make a trade. Skinner played well, but he is a rookie, and he was trending down as well in his last few weeks in Edmonton. So yeah, I think it's you're saying a non-zero chance, Bruce. I'm going to say it's a coin flip whether that happens.
Yeah, 50-50 is reasonable.
I think it's a coin flip. I think it could actually happen, and I think it should happen. I think that the team needs that to happen. Now, that means putting all your eggs in the Skinner basket, right? Which is whoa. If Smith's not ready to play,
yeah.
But they'd probably rather have Skinner in it anyway, and then you're trying to make a trade.
Well, I mean, who plays next game on Wednesday in Toronto is the question right now. If it's not going to be Koskinen, you got to get Skinner in there somehow.
Tomorrow
It's probably not going to be Smith, so you got to do something tomorrow.
Yeah.
In order to clear the path to make an emergency recall. And I mean, there's a way of doing it, I suppose, with a three-headed monster, or put Smith on IR and call him up, whatever. Maybe Smith is ready to go on Wednesday, but I'm not hearing much saying that he's involved in practices or anything like that. Yeah, Koskinen, just since his last win was that Pittsburgh game on December 1st. He is since then six games, 6 losses, 1 point, 1 Bettman point, 0-5-1, 866 save percentage in the last 6 games. 866.
Now, the only goalie that could survive a stretch like that is Mike Smith, who did survive a stretch like that. But Tippett was totally in his corner, right? Having coached him before, knew the player, and it turned out Tippett was right. Last year, Smith bounced back, was really, really good. So, but Koskinen, I don't see him. I think I'll go with the coin flip. I think this could definitely happen. I mean, what would be the argument against it? I guess doing that. Why wouldn't you? The more I think about it, the more I think the odds are more like 80, 90%. Like, why wouldn't you do it at this point? Because you can't go back to him in net.
I raised the exact same question as a headline to a post last week. Might Koskinen be the odd man out? And I would say a week later now he's that much closer to becoming the odd man out. I mean, I clearly lost his coach tonight, judging by him getting called out to that extent in the post-game commentary.
Yeah. What is your number, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm going to go with 3-22. This is the number of blocked shots in tonight's game. And we want to talk about the difference between a disciplined defense. And I noticed right from the first period that New York was very assiduous about filling the shooting lanes. The Oilers would have the puck on the outside. The guy would be trying to make moves, trying to open a lane that he could zip the puck into. And the Ranger guy, they were just lining up with the shooting lanes, taking away the outside shots. The Oilers didn't take a lot of shots for that reason. But in the first period alone, Edmonton got 6 shots on net, and the Rangers skaters blocked 9. And over the course of the game, they blocked 22 shots, and they basically were, between the Oilers and their net, like defensive players are supposed to be. Whereas the Oilers blocked 3 shots, which is a smaller number than the number of odd man rushes they gave up, which I don't have an exact number, but I know it was more than 3. And it was, I mean, that is a very, very, very stark difference on a stat sheet that actually matches the eye test. Like, I thought Rangers are really doing a good job in the shooting lanes, and seemed like the Oilers were outnumbered around the net. It's pretty hard to fill the shooting lanes when the other team's got more guys than you got. And
But Bruce, how could the Oilers lose tonight? They out Corsied the other team 69 to
oh,
39.
they did, but yeah, I mean, here's one for you. This one was actually pretty good. Darnell Nurse. He had a Corsi of 28-4, 15 against, and actual shots on net of 13-4, 14 against. So one of the 15 shot attempts against Darnell Nurse was not on goal, whereas 15 of the shot attempts that the Oilers had while he was out there didn't get through to the net or didn't hit the net. Like it was, it was just two different styles of game out there, and the Rangers were the far more disciplined, far more organized looking team. To my eye, and I mean the Oilers had their dangerous moments because they got some dangerous players, obviously, and they had some lower down players that played okay, but they were second best on a lot of front. Another one was a hits front, 29-12 for New York Rangers. They brought the physicality, and Ryan Reeves 6 hits. That's all he did. Played 12 minutes, 6 hits. And this could have been my good thing. He absolutely crushed Leon Draisaitl, which wasn't a good thing. But like 20 seconds later, Leon took a run at Reeves and put him on his ass, and I like that.
I love
Leon,
that.
Leon, like you sort of, yeah, take a run at me, you're going to take one back, and he hit him pretty good. Not quite as hard as he got hit, but he got him pretty good. But for the most part, it was the Rangers who were laying on the physicality, and was it Ryan Lindgren absolutely smoked Slater Cuckoo, just
Oh man.
crushed him.
Yeah.
And Truba caught somebody in the trolley tracks, and it was just a game where, let's say, the Rangers were more committed to the game without the puck than the Oilers were, and I would say that was a big difference to me.
I love that Draisaitl hit as well. That was fantastic. And I loved Yamamoto standing up for McDavid when going at, cross-checking Truba.
Truba,
A
yeah.
much bigger guy. Good for Kailer Yamamoto. That's fantastic. And it like it's weird because those little plays kind of give me hope, because when the Oilers were a truly rancid team, Bruce, they never had that kind of spunk. Like they never had that kind of comeback. Guys would get Taylor Hall or Nugent Hopkins would get plastered and there'd be no response at all. When Connor McDavid gets hit this year, there's all kinds of guys standing up for him, and it was another example of that tonight. And Connor McDavid himself stands up for his teammates. So, I'm not like totally despairing about this team. I am about the goaltending at this point. But other than, we'll see if you get a hot goalie, you get some good goaltending here in the last few months of the season. You make the right trade, or if Smith comes back hot, or if Skinner comes up and plays well, things can change, and this team can start to win again. So that's my hope.
Well, the Oilers have held the other team to one goal 3 times in 33 games. The last time they did it was in the middle of November against Winnipeg. They've had now 17 games in a row where they've given up multiple goals. And the Rangers, by way of contrast, I looked them up, being tonight's opponent, they've now, counting tonight, held their opponent to 1 goal or fewer on 12 occasions, including 3 shutouts. And the Oilers have 3 times held the team to 1 goal, and that's their high water mark. And 2 of those were in the first 7 games of the season. And since then, it's been, it's just they never win 2-1, 3-1, let alone 5-1. It's just they need to score 3 goals to have a chance to win.
All right. Let's leave it there, Bruce. Let's leave it there. We'll see what happens
there, David.
We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah. Next game Wednesday, and then there's one more against Ottawa. They've got 1 game in sort of 2 weeks after tomorrow or Wednesday's game. So we'll be talking about Bakersfield Condors a little bit in the next couple podcasts after that, I expect.
Well, we'll be able to see if Mikko Koskinen can get his game together in Condorstown. All right, Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.